Welcome to the Marie Manuchehri Podcast. Over the last 30 years, it has been my joy to assist humanity in aligning with their magnificence so they may heal, discover their natural gifts, and communicate with loved ones living on the other side. May you also experience delight while we dance in the powerful, intuitive world of energy. Let's get going. Welcome to where energy meets the divine. Before we go to the phone lines, I'd love for us to chat a bit about consciousness because it means different things to different people. I mean, obviously it's, are you awake or are you asleep in terms of just the physical reality of wakefulness and sleeping. But in the spiritual perspective or the awareness movement or the inner work movement, consciousness means that you are aware of what's happening around you. It doesn't mean you've actually made change yet, but it means that you can see it, you understand it. And that's what consciousness means. And consciousness comes from being more present with oneself. One of the things that can kind of dissipate when you become more conscious and more aware is you don't hold on to as much logic in your brain. Because when you're present, you're right there in the moment, feeling something, hearing something, experiencing something that's really happening. It's really beautiful. The present moment is gorgeous. It's very stunning. It's very rich with many layers of awareness too, which leads to higher levels of consciousness. So some people, as they become more conscious, meaning they become more aware, I'll give an example in a moment, they almost think that they're losing their memory because they can't hold on to as much information. Until all of my daughters became mothers, many of them would ask me things about their childhood that honestly I couldn't remember. It was like 25, 28, 30 years ago. I'm like, I don't know what happened. I was pretty present. I loved having a young family. I mean, it was a little cray-cray, but I loved it. It was very fun for me, very fulfilling, very joyful. I loved it. And now that my daughters all have children, they've said to me, okay, we get it why you don't remember, because they're very present with their kids. They're playing with them. They're laughing with them. They're hanging out with them. They're staring into each other's eyes. They're, laughing their heads off while they make breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They're just having a blast. So consciousness means that you're present. And when you're present, you can feel, understand, have a deeper sense of knowledge of what's really going on. To take action is different. So we can have people who are conscious. We have a bunch of people on earth who are not conscious. I don't know why I lowered my voice when I said that, because it's okay. Wherever anyone is in their vibration of consciousness is perfectly fine. I think sometimes when people aren't very conscious, it can be obviously from my remark, my change in my voice, which is me being conscious, recognizing that my voice changed, that I'm finding it a little irritating when people aren't very aware. I think I'm just thinking of certain things that are happening in the United States right now. But so consciousness means you have an awareness, and then there's another activity. Do you do something about something you became consciousness? So an example would be, I've been conscious for a while that I really don't want to host all the holidays anymore. I've been conscious of this for probably 5 years. I've made some tweaks. I no longer cook all the food. I don't let everybody come to my house and cook the food any longer either, because it just gets really messy when they do that. I now go to the grocery store, a lovely store with really good, food, or a restaurant, and I pick up all the sides. I cook like the main course, like the turkey or whatever it is that we're going to eat, but I don't do all the other stuff. And I even, my family's very picky on the mashed potatoes. So the person who loves to cook them the most, I do let them cook that in the house, by the way. So I'm aware, I have this consciousness that, okay, I've been doing holiday entertaining in my own home, which I, of course, love or used to love for probably 35 years. It's a long time. And I do all the holidays, right? So I'm aware of it. I'm conscious. I've made some changes, but I haven't really done the big thing. I'm going to, though. And I knew the big thing was I don't host a holiday. In fact, I would really just love to go away. So luckily, some of my friends and I are proposing a trip next year, not this year, to go to London for Christmas, which would be so fun. Like I get excited about that. So consciousness means that you have an awareness of something about your life. It could be great knowledge, like, wow, I'm so much better than I thought I was, or wow, my life was way more interesting than I thought it was. Like consciousness can be a really, eye-opening, happy awareness. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I really don't want to host the holidays every single year. I'm thinking like every 4-year kind of rotation, if that's possible. But I also knew that I want to have different experiences during the holidays. So going to a different city, a city that I really like, could be super fun. So we're always seeking out consciousness and awareness. That's important. And as you become more present, you may not remember a lot of stuff that's actually not super important. It's actually more important to be present while something is happening versus remembering all the details of the way you experienced it in that moment and then communicating them all the time. I mean, if that happens naturally, that's great. That's wonderful. But it's okay not to remember everything. It's okay to be present to the things that are important to you. One of the reasons why I don't remember people's names very well is because I'm very present with people and I see different things than the name that their family gave them or that they chose after a period of time. I really don't think the names that humans use, most of them don't have a lot of vibrational energy associated to the authenticity of that person. So I see different things. I may see a field around them. I may see a river. I may see popcorn. I see something else that identifies and lets me know that person in a more unique way, a more authentic, accurate way. So don't be afraid to lose some logical information. It doesn't mean something terrible is happening to you. It doesn't mean that. Most likely it means that you're becoming more present, which means you're becoming more conscious, which means you can make choices ultimately, hopefully sooner than later, that allow you to have different experiences that are more fulfilling than some of the experiences that you've allowed yourself to have. That's really what that means. And then the second thing I wanted to bring up, just so that everyone can know that what I'm about to describe is a natural phenomenon. Doesn't mean that anything is wrong, but as a person becomes less attached to fear, which means less connected to their ego, they're creating more space in their experiences with life that have less fear. So it's less ego attachment, because ego and fear are the same thing. The brain is going to scream at you louder for a little while, not forever, but it's going to try to trick you to go back into fear, because the brain doesn't want, our ego does not want us to evolve out of using the ego constantly. It wants us to stay in the fear related fight or flight experiences that we encounter when we are hanging out with our ego, because the ego knows the more humanity starts to become conscious, because they're hanging out in the present moment, the less they are going to need their ego. And the ego, a terror part of our brain, doesn't want to become extinct. I don't think it'll ever be completely extinct, but when you look at people who become more conscious, they have less fear. Regardless of the scenario or the circumstances, they just become very calm, like, that's interesting. And they just go about their life, again, staying in the present moment and enjoying themselves. So don't be alarmed if your brain starts to, maybe it feels like it's going backwards in that fear mongering vibration. It could mean that you're actually becoming more conscious and the brain is trying to scare you to go back to your old behavior. It doesn't want you to evolve. The ego doesn't want us to evolve. No, because then it won't be very useful, which is good. It's a good thing. Okay, now we're going to go to the phone lines and okay, let's do this.
Hi, Marie. My name is Pam. I live in Boston. I'm 60, and I would like you to do an energy reading for me. I feel as if I'm watching my memory slip, but people around me say that I seem completely normal, and it's the same as, I don't know, anyone else my age. I actually had an MRI scan done, and they did see some white matter, but I'm not even sure exactly what that means. And I would be interested in hearing your take on this whole thing. and what you see about my energy or what might be contributing to it. I do tend to have trouble sleeping, so that could also affect things.
Yeah.
So that's it. And thank you so much. I really appreciate your show and your insight. Thanks.
Thank you, Pam. And I kind of related to what I was talking about before I went to the phone lines. I do think the sleep deprivation, you've been like this for a long time, or off and on for a long time. And sleep is hard on the human body, not getting enough sleep. So I would go get your hormones checked if that is doable for you, meaning that if you've never had cancer, which I don't believe you have, then you could safely take bioidentical hormones that are compounded, not modern medicine hormones. And because those are definitely at high risk for potential health issues that aren't good because they're toxic. They have a lot of toxic chemicals in them, modern medicine hormones like horse urine. And we don't know what people are putting in their horses or what they're giving them injections for. We don't want that, right, in our bodies. So that's what I think is you need more sleep. And I can tell you when I have sleep issues, my naturopath increases my estrogen. Yep. Not my progesterone, which helps people to relax their smooth muscles. And that's why most people take it at night because it helps them to sleep. It even says on the bottom, may cause drowsiness, but she increases my estrogen. So find a really good naturopath that specializes in female health. That would be excellent. Or if it's an allopathic physician who orders from compounded pharmacies, that would be great. I think if you get some sleep, you're going to be fine. I can tell you're very smart. You have a strong intellectual mind. And so when you start to change and you start to have different experiences, it can feel weird. Like, oh, I used to remember these 20 things about that topic over there. And now I only remembered 2. Something must be terribly wrong. No, this doesn't even have to be age related. I do think hormones overall is what causes a significant amount of health issues for most humans, even for our pets, which will be very interesting down the road as more research becomes public, perhaps doing vasectomies and partial hysterectomies for dogs and cats versus completely removing their reproductive hormones, because it's not healthy. I mean, how could it be, right? So that'd be interesting if people start to choose that. So I'm not worried. If the doctors who did the MRI were worried, they would have told you. They just went, oh, that's interesting. I mean, if everybody got an MRI, a lot of people would find something a little weird inside their body or slightly off, because not everybody's the same inside. And we all have weird anomalies going on inside of us. Or even when a doctor scans someone and they look perfect, they go, wow, that's weird. Everything looks normal, So I wouldn't be concerned if they didn't have a follow-up concern about it. I just would not. I hope that helps. Thank you. Have a lovely day.
Hello, Marie. This is Sharat from Massachusetts. Thank you so much for the great work that you do. I'm just wondering if you could give me a general reading of my aura and my energetic body. Just curious to see your perspective. And that's all I have for you. Thanks again, and keep up the great work. I've learned so much from you, and I hope to continue to do so.
Thank you, Sharat. Yeah, I love that some people think of this, because I do, as a form of teaching. I love to teach, one of my favorite things to do in the world, and this is a very exciting topic for me, and it sounds like it is for others as well. I drew out your energy, your chakras, and your auric field, and your chakras actually look really good, meaning that I don't see a lot of leaks. There's a tiny one right at the tip of the crown. So the crown's right on top of the head. The tip moves about 1.5 inches into the brain, and then the vortex can extend potentially thousands of miles into the sky and past the Earth's atmosphere, even, especially for channelers. It just, grows really fast. So you have this tip deep in your brain, 1.5 inches or so, which is lovely. But right at the back of the tip of the cone that's not in your brain, well, it slightly is, I see a leak. And when I see a leak, I typically see what looks like gray energy kind of moving out of the vortex or out of a layer of the auric field, if that's where there's a leak. The leak isn't large, but it is kind of mighty. Like it has a strong force of energy. And the seventh vortex governs all the neurological system. It governs all the skin too. I'm asking it to stop leaking, but it is a little stubborn. It's like, It's like, what are you talking about? Almost like it was surprised that I could see it. I'm like, let's not leak here. Let's not leak here. Again, it's not a huge leak, but whatever's open, there is a force within it. So I would look at anything in your life that you might be in denial about. You could even ask, you could write it on the top of a piece of paper. Please express to me whatever's in my highest good about denial. Keep it general. The universe is good with general. As soon as humans start to muck it up by trying to make it too detailed, then the universe has less opportunity to give us information. We want to be general in our questions the majority of the time so that the universe can deliver whatever is necessary to relate to us, because it may not be what we think. Most likely it never is what we think. So that's what I would do. The leak has slowed down significantly. Then I scanned your auric field. The fourth layer of your auric field has a significant leak. So not the fourth chakra, but the fourth layer of the auric field. Still connected to those organs that the heart chakra is connected to, like lungs, breast tissue, the heart muscle, the upper back. It's still connected to all of that. It also governs the properties in all the blood in the body. No, I take that back. I get it confused sometimes. It governs the circulation of all the blood in the body. Properties are governed by the first chakra. And it also governs the movement of lymphatic fluid inside your lymph nodes and in the lymph vessels. The fourth layer of the field is related, let's say, by blood, almost like siblings or cousins, to the fourth chakra. And the fourth chakra has those responsibilities to your anatomy and physiology. But there's a phrase or words on the fourth layer of the auric field, and it's all about relating. It's about relationships. And when the fourth layer of the auric field is at its highest vibration, what it means is that you know who you are, you know your own personal dance. And when you connect with another person, you maintain your dance. That person maintains their dance. You make a third dance of lovely combination of your individualization. And then when you walk away from that person, you return to your dance. So what I'm hearing is the universe is asking you to keep returning to your dance. Stop over compromising in relationships. That's what it says. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Hello, Marie. My name is Tamara, and I have seen an apparition of my grandmother.
Yay.
But it could have been my mother who had dementia at the time. I'm wondering if she might have been in her spirit form already and showed up at my bedside.
It's possible.
I'm also seeing a lot of orbs. Can you give me a little more information about orbs? I have many wonderful photos and videos, but would like a little more information. I'm so excited to be a student of yours. God bless you, friend. Much love.
Bless you too, Tamara. I think you are seeing your grandmother, right? Yeah, your grandmother. That's what I think. I don't think it was your mom, although you're right. When people have Alzheimer's or different forms of dementia, most of the time, a lot of their energy is not in their physical form anymore. It's already on the other side or in the astral plane. And so we can connect with them and hear them or see them or feel them as if they have already passed over. So you were right to wonder that, but I think you did see your grandmother. I do. And she's very proud of you. She's different than your mom. They're different energies, very different people, in my opinion. Orbs are like fairies. You know, they're very happy, high vibrational, energetic beings of light. And they come around people who can see them, who are opening up their consciousness. So in my intro, as I was talking about consciousness, you're one of those people who actually has, elevated her consciousness and can become conscious. You just don't do always the other part. You don't take action, kind of like me, still hosting the holidays, but I'm starting to change and taking years to go, well, what would I really like to do? Oh yeah, I'd rather go traveling with my friends than, do all that busy work. So it's time for you to really start to take action. Start talking to the orbs. They like you. Think of them as fairies. I don't know how it's to describe them. I agree. They don't look like a fairy. They look like an orb, but they have fairy-like energy. And I think they come to show people and remind people of the magic of the world, and that there's so much information out there, and there's so much unique experiences we could be having. Invite the experiences in. A lot of times when people hear, see, or feel energy, they're waiting for that energy to tell them a story, so to speak, but it actually requires an engagement. So they've already come to you. You've seen them. That's their entrance. That's the beginning of the conversation. Now you need to have a conversation, and I wouldn't have the conversation. Why are you here? What's going on? What are you doing? I wouldn't have the conversation like that. Like, wow, you're so beautiful. It's so lovely to have you. Thank you for hanging out with me. And then I think there'll be more communication from them, and that will be interesting for you. Okay, I hope that's helpful.
Hi, Marie. This is Lee calling from Pennsylvania. I wanted to call to ask a question about my son. My father passed away a year and a half ago, and my son, who's 14, recently approached me and wanted to talk about some things that he felt during that time. He mentioned that the last time that we saw my father, he had a very foreboding feeling that this was going to be the last time we would ever see him. And shortly after that, my father passed away from a health event that was very sudden. My son has also mentioned that he's had these feelings, these foreboding feelings, prior to major events such as COVID, as well as several other events of people that we know who have passed away. He has sensed that before they have. He has suffered from migraines for a majority of his life, and I think I remember you or another person saying that that's often a sign of repressed psychic ability. So I was just wanting to see how I can support him. I feel like if I send him to a therapist or something for grief counseling,
Agreed.
which, he's definitely still grieving the loss of his grandfather, they will turn this into something else. And I really want to know if this is something that I can support, if it's a gift of his, that I can go full in and do whatever I can to help him harness this gift and use it. Right now, he's saying it's more of a depressing feeling and a dark feeling when he gets these premonitions, I'll call them. So I wanted to see how we could turn that also to light and not make it something that's forever a plague to him, as opposed to something that he sees as a blessing. So any insight would be so appreciated. I'm so grateful for your help. Thank you.
You're welcome, Lee. And yeah, your son is very, very psychic. And yes, migraines or cluster headaches or people who have frequent headaches, it's because they are blocking their intuition. So people who are highly psychic, who even show some psychic gifts, could still be repressing, a big part of their ability, right? I never suffered from, significant headaches, but I clearly blocked a lot of my intuition for a big portion of my life. So yes, I think if everyone would just make death different, like it's a natural thing, if we could talk about it in a different way, then I think that people would have different experiences. I have a totally different experience than death. But again, I was raised by someone who looked at the whole circle of life in a positive aspect. And so it's never frightened me or made me uncomfortable ever. It's also okay that he has like this drop of energy, because a drop of energy is just there to get your attention, right? It's just there to get your attention. So it doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It also means that as he increases his vibration and begins to change his perceptions about things, he won't feel that drop in energy unless the universe needs to get his attention. Then, if you were not paying attention, the universe will drop the energy. I was working on a client once, and I used to feel all of my clients' pain and all the pain of patients in the hospital when I laid my hands on them, which was really hard on my body. I loved it initially because I'm like, oh, your knees hurt, or I would notice that patients who reported their pain was a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10, as I laid hands on them, was actually an 8, because I could feel it in my own body, then I could help them, or they just didn't want to take more narcotics. But we have other ways that could change the medications. There's all kinds of things that could have been done rather than them just not communicating what they were really feeling. So it has its positive aspects, even in your son being prepared for the death of his grandfather, because sensitive people need preparation. I think that's why the universe has told me many, many, many times before someone has passed away. Funny enough, a lot of my mother's family members who are all gone now, all of her siblings, her parents, of course, her aunts and uncles. And she was asking me about her brother when he was really ill. And I said, Mom, I'm so sorry. Uncle Don already feels dead. I don't know how this man is alive. And he was hooked up to every kind of machine imaginable, so, but he completely felt already dead to me, not even alive. So first, let's celebrate that your son is feeling, he's having intuitive awarenesses about things. And people who have a strong intuitive nature are meant to use it. That's why they have it. They need it. People who have a strong intuitive nature may not spend a lot of time intellectually researching things to get the information that they need. So they need to use their intuitive muscle to go, yes or no. Or let me get back to that. Does it feel right? I don't know why. I'll come back and visit it later, right? So change the way you talk about death. Change the way you feel, how you feel about death. It doesn't mean we ignore our grief. Of course, we can grieve. My cat Eminem, who lived 21 years, which is kind of debatable in our family. Some people think it was 19. I say it was 21. She was annoying as an older cat, but she was adorable. And we think about her. I see her running in the yard sometime because we did bury her in the yard here. And she's precious. So you want to change the way we look at death, because nothing stays here forever. Even glaciers eventually leave the planet. So if we can look at it as something that's normal rather than horrible, and we don't want it to happen to anyone, we need to recognize that we can still maintain these relationships. And that's what your father wants. Your father wants to have a relationship with his family from a different place of consciousness. Like, he's more aware than he was when he was in his body, a lot more aware. And he has a daughter and a son that are more aware than he was when he was in his body. And he would love to have a relationship, because he goes, now I have the knowledge to have a relationship with you that could go deeper than what we had. So hopefully that's helpful in terms of how you could talk to him. And I do have Stephanie Moberg listed on my referral page. I think she's a great therapist who's highly intuitive and a wonderful coach to get people to the next level. If that's what you choose to do down the road, she's an option. I agree with you. Not taking him to a regular therapist is a good idea. We don't want him to think there's something wrong with him. We want to think that your son is the future, where all of humanity will wake up to their natural intuitive gifts and use them for themselves at the very least, but maybe even to help others. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
My name is Chris. Thank you so much for the light and love you bring to this planet. I was happy to hear you were an oncology nurse. Actually 2 years into my first job as a radiation oncologist. And it inspired me how to consider how I could incorporate some of your healing into my practice. But really, I'm reaching out today for a relationship question. I spent the majority of my adult life afraid of love, sex, and intimacy, hiding out in my apartment, dissociating in front of the TV with THC to soothe anxiety and depression. And somehow 4 or 5 years ago, I was able to get out of my stupor long enough to get therapy and seek help. And that led to an amazing partner that came into my life 2 years ago, who embodied a lot of the attributes you encourage all of us to have. He seeks joy, play, intimacy, deep conversations, and lots of physical touch and connection. And my question is, why the hell is this so overwhelming to me? I seem to be drowning in mind-made self-negative stories of, I can't handle this, or this is too much, in terms of the amount of time he wants to spend in deep conversation. I feel tired often, and this overwhelm seems to be pulling me back into unconscious behaviors like TV, THC, shutting down, and I find my energy contracting when he wants to have sex. I struggle with penetrative sex, both giving and receiving, and believe me, the metaphor is not lost on me. I want to be able to relax more into my body and allow myself to feel pleasure and let go of the fear-based narratives I have regarding my sexual abilities. So I was just wondering if you or my spirit guides have any sense as to how I could do this. I intuitively sense that this relationship has the potential to help me access more joy, silliness, and play in my life, and help me to stop taking life, sex, and myself so seriously. I want to do my part in continuing to learn how to open up rather than shut down, and I'd greatly appreciate any advice you or the universe have. So thank you again, and may you have a peaceful and joyful day.
Thank you, Chris. You're very funny. And thank you for what you do in the world. I'm extremely, extremely grateful. Very. So thank you. Thank you for your intelligence and your devotion and your care for your patients. And thank you. I really appreciate you. So first of all, as you were talking, I was just blaming your parents. And I know parenting is the hardest job on the planet. So it's, but they brought a lot of this fear on, just the way I looked at their bodies, their energetic system, a lot of fear. And children model their energy after their parents because kids forget that they've been here before. Because most have, even young souls have been to Earth a couple of times. Old souls, many, many, many times. And then other dimensions, right? Young and old souls incarnate or walk into, because we don't have to reincarnate into non-physical realities. We don't have to be born. We just walk into them like, I'm going to go to level 486 million. I'll see you guys in a few years. Okay. We just walk over there and have a completely different experience, or fly over there, snap our fingers, or who knows, something really fun and easy and quick. So your parents, and I'm glad you had some therapy. When I do see this conversation that you're talking about with your partner, it is a little draining. So your partner wants to have these deep, kind of low vibrational conversations. And you don't like them. They do not make you happy. I'm not saying that the beginning is kind of interesting, but he just kind of wants to stay there. So he needs to work on not dwelling on mind-made emotions and kind of swimming in the soup of things that aren't even happening, or they're happening based on his perception, but are they really happening? So that's number one. He needs some coaching on that. So that sounds like a nice compromise to me, where, the deep dive. I have one of my daughters likes that deep dive. It's a little bit of that Pisces Scorpio energy. She likes that deep dive. I like it initially, but I get really tired if I have to stay in that all day long or for hours and hours. It's not fun for me. I don't enjoy it. Right. So this is a compromise that the two of you need to work out together. And I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun for your relationship, fun for your partner to go, oh, that's low vibration. Interesting. Huh? How long am I hanging out there? Because you already are in a place where, in terms of your career path, where you are hanging out in what some humans would consider challenging situations. I know it's very interesting for you and very curious. I think it's an excellent match, by the way. That's just how I feel about it. I think it's a good match. But nevertheless, you're already in kind of intense energy. So you need your energy at home to be lighter. So I don't think you need to take all the responsibility on this. Now, the other stuff, because I do think you get scared to be loved and cherished and adored. So if you could start to talk to your body with your mind as the intimacy starts to occur, and remind your body what century it is. And remind your body of things that humans think are important, like how much money we have in the bank, or if we own a home or a car, or, it's like the brain kind of needs some sort of, oh, everything's fine, I've got this, or I've got that, or I'm a man, which is actually, better for most parts of the world to be a man than a woman. No, seriously, right? So that's what I think. I think you're on the right track. I think things are moving forward beautifully. You just need to remind your body what century it is, so it doesn't start to pick up on energy from previous centuries that make you kind of shut down from things that happened in the past and past lives, especially related to your sexuality. I think there's past life issues, not current issues, interesting enough, but past life issues, even when same-sex relationships were actually more popular interesting enough. That's what I'm seeing. But I'm seeing a tremendous amount of competition and difficulty and low frequency. And just probably even the year itself was a challenge for all humans. So try that. I think things will change perfectly for you. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Marie. My name is Renee. I'm reaching out because I am a nurse. I got C. diff from a patient and I've had a hard time healing. It keeps coming back. And right now I'm afraid that it won't because of stress with the whole work situation. And I wanted to see if you could give me any guidance related to this situation. Thank you. Bye.
Hello, Renee. Thank you for being a nurse and doing your beautiful work in the world. And I'm sorry about the C. diff. It can be complicated and kind of challenging for some people, but this means that your immune system was already repressed. In order for people to get C. diff, they have to have a repressed immune system somewhere and somewhat significantly, especially if it won't go away and it keeps coming back or whatever is happening. So please find a naturopath, please, because naturopathic physicians understand the endocrinology of humanity better than the majority of modern medicine. Not everything, but yeah, overall, a lot more. So that they can look at your labs more significantly and your immune system and figure out areas that need to be built up so that then it can positively affect your intestines. This is typically when we look at the intestinal tract, we're looking at in terms of problems, like things like colitis or diverticulitis, and obviously something like C. diff, we're looking at self-hatred. I know nobody likes that phrase, but it's the truth. This is where the majority of the population vibrates its energy. So think of it this way. If you want to find a positive reason for this, why this happened, because there's always a positive reason. There's always a source of light. The universe is trying to shine light on you, on something in your life. So you go, and become conscious. So this is a moment for you to become more conscious. And the consciousness is that you tend to be, whether you're aware of it or not, self-critical, significantly self-critical. So I would encourage you to start internally speaking kindly to yourself with loving words, high frequency, kind words like, I'm so proud of you. Great job. You're amazing. You might want to just think about what would you have loved your parents to say to you when you were young? And that might take a couple of days for you to mull it over and reevaluate, like, wow, if I could choose to hear what I really wanted my parents to say to me when I was young, what would it be? What would it be? Clearly, everybody knows what mine are because I repeat kind of the same language all the time when I'm asking people to nurture themselves. And then start nurturing yourself, and because we're not going to have your parents do it for you, whether they're on earth or not. It's not going to happen, right? That would be a long conversation and they probably wouldn't appreciate it. But you can say it to yourself, and self-love and self-worth is more powerful than other people loving us and appreciating us. Not that that isn't amazing and wonderful and incredible. We all deserve to have people in our life who adore us, as we also have people in our life that we also adore. Like that's a win-win. But self-valuing and self-appreciation is highly underrated. So that's what I think you should do. And then it'll be gone. But think of this as the universe getting your attention, because there's other things for you to become aware of and to grow consciously. And we need to get your self-criticism really low, and an extremely low frequency and low vibration, so that we can, let it happen. Let other things happen that you probably want and you've asked for, and the universe is trying to help you. And because you weren't consciously recognizing that your self-criticism was out of control or even there, because some people don't even know that they're self-critical. They have no idea. And yet it is an epidemic in the human consciousness or unconsciousness, is humans self-loathe. That is the pandemic, the emotional, mental pandemic of the human race. Okay, very exciting. I wish you a wonderful and quick recovery.
Hello, yes. My question is, if I open myself up to Spirit's guide and my ancestors, my family, that it opens up for negative as well. How do I keep the negative out and only the positive? I just don't know. If you open that door, it seems like it's open for everyone. I'm just unclear on that.
Yeah, it's a great question, Shelley. I wish you were here. I would just kiss you because it's such a cool question. And a lot of people kind of sit in that place. And so I'm going to say what I've said many, 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 many times. You live on the lowest, one of the lowest vibrational realities in all of the cosmos. It only gets better when you open up the door. I've never seen hell. I've never seen the devil. I don't think it exists. I don't think our religious books, the way they were written, and I mean, the Bible itself has been translated over 800 times, not by women. No woman has helped translate the Bible. Let's just be clear. So we're missing 50% of a different, aspect of consciousness and awareness into these books that clearly aren't sacred, in my opinion. And for those people who enjoy the Bible, I'm thrilled for them and happy for them. That's lovely, but let's be honest about the majority of the material, So I've never seen hell. I've never seen a devil. I don't think they exist. I think if you want to know where hell is, Earth certainly has plenty of places on it that feel like hell. No one is ever punished. Everyone is loved and adored. Even people who commit crimes are loved and adored and cherished. And a lot of people say to me, how could that be? And I'll say, well, when you leave Earth and you're not in a body, no one can kill you. No one can rip you off. You don't have a house. You don't have money. You don't have a car because you don't need anything. You're just pure energy. So no one can hurt you. And energy cannot be destroyed. That's why when our bodies die, our energy goes off to another dimension. So what I'm trying to tell you, in a nutshell, is that there's nothing to be afraid of. You open up yourself up and you open yourself up to light and consciousness and awareness. But I would work on raising your frequency just so that you will have as many experiences as you possibly can in the light of the universe, not just Earth. Earth is interesting and people can have heaven on Earth. Like that's normal, but that's all about frequency and vibration and consciousness. But when we look outside of the Earth realm, it's a very different high frequency, natural vibrating realities everywhere. So I don't think there's anything for you to worry about outside of Earth. Okay. Great question. Really interesting.
Hi, Marie. My name is Michelle, and I'm calling from Michigan. I just got done listening to your podcast back from January 4th, 2024. I've been listening to some of your podcasts in the archives and just been loving them and learning so much, and I really appreciate it. But anyway, this particular podcast, you talked about new souls and old souls and how they really don't work well in romantic or intimate relationships or even friendships for that matter.
Right.
I know now that I'm an old soul. I've been doing so much work and growth over the last 3 years. A lot of healing has taken place. I'm just so excited and happy. My heart is open. I'm really excited for this next chapter in my life. But I'm married to my husband for almost 29 years. And I know we were meant to be together at first. Sure. I absolutely know that with all my heart. I mean, We've been through so many ups and downs. And I don't think that I would have learned as much had I not married him. I think it was an impetus to my growth. However, now I'm really struggling because I feel like I've sort of outgrown the relationship. And I do know that, I put up with a lot in the relationship that I probably wouldn't have had I valued myself more.
Sure.
In the earlier years of our marriage. Anyway, if you can give me any guidance, and please be very open because this is something I've been struggling with for a very, very long time. I would appreciate any insight or advice you have. Thank you so much. Bye.
You're welcome, Michelle. And have you talked to him about this? Whether someone's a young soul or an old soul, having a conversation about how you feel, especially with your partner, I think is kind of required. It's kind of required unless someone's partner's, has all kinds of issues, which yours doesn't. He looks like a very kind human being. But, you're not in love with him anymore. here's what I think will happen in the future. One of my clients told me she wished this is how the world was. And this was a long time ago. She had just been diagnosed with a challenging disease. And she realized that a lot of it had to do with the uncomfortable relationship she allowed herself to be in. And she said to me that she wishes marriage licenses had been renewable, and that every 5 years you sit down at the table and you go, so what do you think? Because it's going to end in 5 years. You have to renew it, which means, of course, divorce lawyers don't exist. There's different laws about property, or who knows how it actually works out, but it's not complicated like it is today. And she also said that the marriage license is not cheap. It's not like $1. Like, you have to put some thought into it. You have to really sit down and consider it. And I think that's where the two of you are right now. He would stay married to you for many lifetimes, is what he would want. But, if you're not growing, it's not fun for you. You're not enjoying yourself. So I think you need to sit down and have a chat with him and tell him how you feel and try to figure out what you want. That's what I think, is start to have a conversation with him. Because regardless, if you decide you want to leave this relationship, you're going to have a conversation with him. But I would start with that conversation. I think what's happened is that because people don't always grow at the same time in friendships or in partnerships or even in family units. But if you're close to the same soul age, you kind of hop each other. Like, one does some growth and then that one comes down and the other one jumps over and it does some growth, and so it just continues to be relatable and interesting and fun. And just when you think things aren't going to get better, they do. You're like, oh, okay, wow, this is amazing. It all worked out. And this is still really about your relationship with yourself. So have a chat with him. The reason why I'm saying this is because I don't think you're going to like what he says. And I think that if anyone's going to sit down and talk about a relationship, people that we loved or we've loved for years, and the other person is unwilling to listen, unwilling to participate, I think that will bring a tremendous amount of clarity. I think we get clarity when people show us who they are, but when we don't connect with them and ask those questions, those challenging questions, we become blind to who they are or how they fit in our lives. So I think that's the next step, personally. Okay, one more, and then I have to go do other things.
Hello, Marie. Thank you so much for taking my question. I really appreciate it. I wanted to just get your take on something that happened a few years ago. Following my dad's passing, I went up and stayed at his cabin. And I really wanted to feel close to him, which is kind of why I did it. And I spent the night in his bed. And during the night, I felt his energy come in so huge. And I got scared. I got really scared.
It's scary at first. It's very scary at first.
I have really wanted to feel him around me, and I haven't.
Right.
So I kind of wonder if I freaked him out.
No.
And if there was any advice that you might have, or anything that you're hearing from him about what might have taken place there, or if he has just kind of moved on and doesn't really want to hang out, which I also respect. Anyway, that's my question. I always thought that I would hear from him because I just am sensitive that way.
Yeah.
And I think that he was too. And I just miss him, I guess. So thanks. Enjoy.
So that was you feeling your father in the cabin. Absolutely. He hadn't even quite crossed over. He was in the astral plane still. He just loved leaving his body. He thought it was the coolest, most amazing thing ever. And what happens when people cross over, even in their movement from Earth to the astral plane, they have so much awakening. They're so inspired. It's so exciting for them. They're like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't even really die. I just got happier and I know more, And so your dad loved it. But then when he crossed over, he's like, dang, I can't really be that helpful for my daughter. Because once you're on the other side, you realize that dead people maybe we'll come up with a better term, come to their loved ones to be helpful. And your father says you are more aware than he was and still is consciously. But here's what I would do. I think we have a good game plan. Before a holiday, birthday, anniversary, Christmas, whatever you celebrate, get really, 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 really happy, because our loved ones love to visit us during those events. So if you get really, 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 really happy, I know you'll feel him and hear him and see him. But it's not like he just goes, well, I can't really help her, so I'll just kind of hang over here. Yeah, that's what happens. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Joyful blessings, everyone. Bye-bye for now.